Hi everyone, today we will talk about inventor Nikola Tesla. He was born in July 1856 in what is now Croatia. He came to the United States in 1884 and worked briefly with Thomas Edison before they parted ways. He sold several of his patents, including those for an alternating current mechanism. In 1891, he invented the Tesla coil, which is still used in radio technology today. Tesla died in New York City on January 7, 1943. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Our virtues and our defects are inseparable, like strength and weakness. If they are separated, a person does not become a human being. This is what the great scientist Nikola Tesla said, the man who lived about 87 years and who was respected by everyone, not only by ordinary people, but by all scientists as well. A man and a mythical scientist about whom many tales are told, some of which are true, some wrong, and some that are exaggerated. Rumors abounded about this genius, and many strange works were attributed to him, which we really hope would exist. This is what made him a truly legendary figure, nicknamed the inventor of the 20th century because of his achievements and inventions. One of his most famous inventions was the alternating current. His greatest hopes and dreams were to reach free energy sources owned by all, without discrimination of any kind. Let's look at some facts about this great world. Although Nikola Tesla's name is not as famous as Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, and Guglielmo Marconi, the first to transmit and receive radio waves, but for Tesla's strenuous efforts in both fields, we would not have lived today with lit streets and houses, or we enjoy radio and television broadcasts. In remembrance of his death today, none of his many inventions can be identified directly responsible for making our lives easier today, nor any of the exhausting hours he spent isolated from the world in his lab, responsible for our use of electric current devices as a continuous source of energy uninterrupted. According to various accounts, the moment of his birth was accompanied by a thunderstorm that included his small village, which was then, in 1956, part of the Austrian Empire, before it separated to become within the borders of Croatia, to cast shadows on the inventor-scientist who studied physics and mathematics at the Austrian University of Graz and worked in several technical jobs in Europe before moving to the United States in 1884. Although he arrived on the coast of New York penniless with only a letter of nomination for work, he managed to get a job as an engineer in the industrial research laboratories of the world's first electric man, Thomas Edison. Within a few months, signs of the genius of the young engineer began to appear, revealing a genius inventor waiting for an opportunity. At a moment when Edison offered a $50,000 reward for Tesla's development of a design for direct current generators, according to the latter's account, the young engineer thought he had the opportunity. However, after completing the work and demanding a reward, he was surprised by the famous American inventor's answer, "Tesla, it seems you don't understand the American sense of humor." The last phrase was a declaration of the end of the first stage of Tesla's professional life, so that independence began his work and search for investors to fund his research and experiments in the field of alternating electric currents, which Edison did not like, paying more attention to direct currents despite the difficulty of distributing and transmitting them over long distances. After strenuous efforts and unsuccessful attempts, Tesla was able to establish its own laboratory on Freedom Street, close to the headquarters of Edison's laboratories and companies. With the end of the 80s of the 19th century, and with the help of a number of investors, he was finally able to design and implement an alternating current generator and patented it in May 1888. destroying the uniqueness of direct current generators and drawing the attention of major investors to his enlightening impulses, which delivered it to the hands of a partner and financier. A new one is George Westinghouse, owner of Westinghouse Electric, which has begun to benefit from alternating current technology. However, the relative success achieved by Tesla and the societal interest that focused on his works began to recede, with Thomas Edison declaring war on him in what was known as the War of Frequencies, and Edison began spreading anti-alternating currents propaganda by suggesting that they be used in the execution of death sentences. And to prove that they were not needed, he set up public displays in the streets and electrocuted animals with them, which soon died. But dozens of practical experiments for Edison in this direction, it was wiped out by a single practical test of Tesla. In the first public and practical application of his experiments, Tesla, in cooperation with Westinghouse, was able to light the entire Columbian Exposition in Chicago in the early 90s of the 18th century, relying only on alternating currents, which many doubted its feasibility, becoming the first dazzling light show to the public with the same energy they thought it could on destruction only. But the bright lighting that recorded an unforgettable historical moment was only the nucleus of the change to come, pulling the rug of brilliance from under Edison's feet once and for all. Tesla began preparing for a project that stopped lighting the entire universe on its success. Thus, the first modern power plant in history that uses renewable energy, and with its success, energy becomes available to wider segments of the masses and over large geographical areas, so that the concept of lighting undergoes a development that moves it from the stage of invention to the daily need that cannot be lived without. Before the end of the 19th century, Tesla had managed to design giant generators with a capacity of 5,000 horses and included 3 of them in the nascent station, thus becoming the largest generators known to his era. But this was not enough to end doubts about the usefulness of his experiments. However, with the launch of the signal in the middle of the last decade of the century, fears and doubts faded with the rush of the first batches of water to torpedoes connected to giant generators to emit unexpected amounts of energy that allowed the transition from one road to another, and from one city to another, to spread electric lighting between homes like wildfire. Over the years, the number of generators increased in the world's first power plant, and New York City was fully lit. The invention of the radio as we know it today is linked to the moment when the Italian inventor, Marconi, was able to transmit a message across the Atlantic Ocean in December 1901, completes the development of the basics of wireless communication, and patents them in September 1897, 4 years before Marconi's achievement, based on his belief that energy can be transmitted wirelessly by one means or another. He spent years studying and experimenting using his body and the atmosphere around him to transmit energy charges and even light. LEDs. Tesla's achievements in the field of wireless energy did not stop at the invention of the radio and the registration of a pioneering patent with it, as he was also able to direct and control a small boat wirelessly in the pool of the Madison Square Garden in the first remote control experiment, which amazed his followers and prompted them to search about the trick behind his creation. However, in the same inventor who was fond of electric currents, it represented only steps on the path of a new dream in building a global communication network ruled by a giant tower of timber in the Long Island, which has already begun to be implemented to become a center for the idea of transmitting electric power around the world, which some thought was a path of insanity and absurdity. Even the financier of the project, J. Morgan, abandoned it and went to finance Marconi. As attention began to turn from Tesla to the ambitious young man, the inventor with a passion for electricity commented, "Marconi is a good person. Let him finish what he started. He works with the guidance of 17 of my patents." After Marconi's patent for the radio was refused in the United States because of Tesla's leadership in the field in 1900, it was accepted the second time in 1904, heralding the decline of Tesla's star. Among the inventions, works, and ideas he contributed: alternating current electric motor, light, how to harness and distribute it, X-ray, the radio, remote control devices, electric motor, robots, laser, wireless communications, unlimited free energy. Tesla was also known for his strange behavior and thoughts. It is said that he had a strange habit about the number 3, where he would wash his hand 3 times or go around a building 3 times before entering it. This obsession may be a manifestation of obsessive-compulsive disorder. Tesla hated pearls madly, so much that he refused to talk to women who wore pearls, and no one came up with a convincing reason about his extreme hatred of pearls. Tesla spent his whole life celibate and did not marry. Married life did not suit him at all, and he once stated that he does not think that there is a single great invention in humanity attributed to married scientists. He also declared clearly that the practice of sex hinders his work and distracts his focus. He spent most of his life in New York, where he spent his last 2 decades in the New Yorker Hotel and lived in room 3327, which are 2 rooms on the 3rd floor. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for watching.